always good to have a treat before you do the activity that deserves a treat, because then you feel like you need to work hard to earn the treat you've already had. Hey guys, Tez here and welcome back to my channel. In today's video I'm going to be discussing 10 reasons you should not be a pharmacist and why I hate my job. So before we get started, don't forget to grab your cup of tea to have with Tez and let's jump right in. The first thing is that everything you learn in uni is irrelevant on day one of actually working. So you spend 4 or 5 years in university learning all these guidelines, first line, second line, third line treatment, and then on day one that guideline is outdated and NICE have brought out a new guideline, so it's like you have to learn everything by heart. So why was I learning all that in the first place? So it can feel a little bit annoying because you feel like you have all this information but you can't apply it because it's irrelevant, babes. No one cares anymore. So yeah, if that's something that'll piss you off, then definitely don't consider being a pharmacist. The second thing is that people refer to you as a building and not, or like a department and not as a person. So people will be like, oh hi, are you pharmacy? Or go speak to pharmacy, she's right there. And I'm like, I'm a person, I'm a pharmacist, not a building, not a department. So sometimes it can be a little bit annoying when people keep saying pharmacy. Like you would never say, oh go speak to hospital over there, because that sounds silly. And I feel like saying, so, are you pharmacy sounds just as silly, so yeah. The third thing is that some healthcare professionals don't really value pharmacists and they don't understand the input or the expertise we can bring to an MDT setting. So a lot of people might not listen to what pharmacists have to say, or they might not consider them essential for their team. And it can be quite frustrating, especially if maybe you notice that something is being done and it's not appropriate, but because they've kind of demoralized you and said, oh, pharmacy in the corner, pharmacy in the corner, so then you feel like you can't voice your opinions. So it can be quite frustrating when you think, I know this, but nobody's listening to you, especially if you're more junior and you don't know how to stand up for yourself, or you're not 100% sure, because you know imposter syndrome is real. So you'll be like, I'm pretty sure like they shouldn't be doing that, but because you've not seen it enough, you're not sure, so then you don't say anything, and then something happens and you're like, ah, should have said something. But chances are, even if you did, they would have ignored you, but then at least you would have tried. Another reason is that a lot of people won't like you as a pharmacist because they don't like pharmacists, because they think that pharmacists are pedantic, we spot out errors that don't really matter. But sometimes those errors are what prevents patients from staying in hospital longer, because it prevents them from getting, I suppose, extra side effects that they might not need to have gotten. And also, if that error does happen and then something serious happens to the patient, the pharmacist is just as liable, if not more liable, than the doctor who prescribed the medication, because we're supposed to be a safety net. So it's kind of really hard to be a safety net if people don't value it and they don't see why you're doing things the way you're doing them. Another one that annoys me is people will ask me if I'm a pharmacist because I couldn't get into medicine, and I just think that's just really mean, because there are some people who are in that position, and you wouldn't say to someone who's had a miscarriage, or are you adopting because you couldn't have your own babies. Like, that's rude. If that's someone's reason, that's their reason, and if they don't disclose that to you, it's not your responsibility or your business to ask them. So that one annoys me. And another thing, might not want to be a doctor. Some of us don't like touching people because people are grim. You know, some people don't wash every day, and I don't want to be touching people. That might be a reason why I do want to be a doctor. Might not want to be a doctor because I don't want my family members asking me for medicines, even though they do. But anyways, I digress. So yeah, don't ask people if there's something because they couldn't do something else, because it's really inappropriate and it's rude. Don't do that. Another thing that's really annoying is that you have to do some sort of course if you want to progress. For example, I've been in education since I was 4, and I'm no 4, maybe 3 or 4, I don't know, some form of educational setting anyway, and I'm 32 and I'm still doing the CPPU course. And then after that, am I going to do another master's? I don't know, maybe. And then after that, am I going to want to do a PhD? I don't know, maybe I'll finally get that doctor title that everyone keeps asking if I couldn't get. But I think medical doctors are not real doctors because they didn't do a PhD, and the PhD doctors are the real doctors. Anyway, that's not the point. My point is, if you want to progress, you're going to have to do some sort of learning. And I just think, is there no end? Like some of my friends, they get promoted, they do no extra learning, they just go on a course, half a day course, boom, promotion, more money. Whereas me, it's like never ending. So yeah, if you want to progress, you have to keep learning. And some people like that, I personally don't. Another reason I hate my job is that a lot of people don't actually know what pharmacists do if you don't work in a community pharmacy. So I always have to explain. So people be like, wait, so you work in a GP surgery? So I actually like seeing patients and touching them and diagnosing them. I'm like, no, not doing that. Like, and I feel like every time I'm always having to explain. You would never ask, like, I feel like when someone says I'm a nurse, you know what they do. When someone says I'm a doctor, you know what they do. But no one seems to know what pharmacists do unless they work in community pharmacy. And even then, I'm not really sure they actually know what's happening there. I think they think we're literally grinding the raw materials to make their tablets, which I don't know if people do that, but I certainly haven't. So yeah, it's really annoying because no one knows what you're doing. It kind of feels like an engineer. You know how like no one actually knows what engineers do? Well, I don't anyway. Yeah, so it's a bit like that. So if you don't like explaining what you do to people, it gets very annoying very quickly. The next thing is that finance, and I personally don't think I get paid enough. I'm not saying that pharmacists should get more, but I think that the money that I get from my job is not enough for the kind of lifestyle I want to like have. So that means that I won't be able to retire early, I won't be able to do anything unless I start doing other things. So if you're coming into pharmacy thinking big baller, whatever, top shotter, top collar, I don't know, whatever, then think again, because the money's not here. I don't know where it is, but I certainly haven't found any. So you won't be able to retire early. You probably have to retire when you're 71 by the time we get to retire, provided we're lucky enough, probably be working till you hit the grave, unless you have some other sources of income. So yeah, finance is not great either. I'm not saying that I don't get paid a lot of money, I'm saying that the money I get is not enough. Like I could be getting 200k, that might not be enough. So don't at me saying I'm ungrateful, I'm just saying that's my opinion. Okay. Another thing that's quite annoying is that pharmacy is not always standardized. So I know other people don't know what pharmacists do, but I thought I knew what a PCN pharmacist did, and then I moved to a different PCN. Yes girl, you always gotta move or else they'll catch you slipping. These ops are everywhere. But yeah, I moved to a different job, and the way we work is completely different to what we did before in the way that it's structured. I mean, the job is still the same, but the way in which you do it is completely different. So you can never get too comfortable because the environment is always different. I suppose really it's the same like when I worked in hospital, when I worked for different areas, the way that the pharmacists worked and the doctors worked and everyone worked was really different. So you get comfortable in one area and then have to learn another one. So I guess that is, I don't know if it's like the same in every other job because I've never done any other job, but you know, if you work in McDonald's, when you know you clock in at the machine at the back near the sink, you know you put your bags in the locker room where you have your lunch, and then you know you have to fry, if you fry a burger you know where you stand, if you fry the chips you know where you stand, if you're on the drive-through you know everything is the same. Like I could work in any McDonald's because I've worked in one before, and I like they might say or maybe bag the chips first or something, but the process is essentially the same. But it's not always like that in pharmacy, so if you like continuity you might be a little bit disappointed. Finally, the last reason I hate my job is that it is a job. Like I don't really aspire to work. I don't understand, like I know women fought for my rights so I could go to work. I'm sorry, I didn't ask for that. I'm grateful, but I didn't ask for it. I feel like I would have been just as happy being at home and being somebody's stay-at-home wife. I know that might sound oppressive, but the whole point of feminism is that you get a choice to do what you want, and my choice is not to work. But unfortunately, I'm not married to anyone, so I have to go and work. So yeah, if you like working, then fair. Good on you, I'm so proud of you, I hope it brings you joy. But for me, I hate my job because it's a job that I have to go out and do, and if I stopped I wouldn't have money to pay the bills and I wouldn't have money to pay for food, so I have to go. So yeah, I guess that is the main reason I hate my job, to be honest, because it's a job. Oh, it's raining, snowing, sleet, ice, what? Anyways guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to tap the like button so the video reaches more people. Subscribe if you haven't already because it really helps me out, and until next time, bye for now.